Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Liz and today is going to be all about engagement rings. Everything you need to know, you may want to know, probably a little bit too much information that you didn't want to know. But if you are looking for engagement rings, don't know where to start, what the 4 C's are, everything about engagement rings, diamond rings is going to be in this one video. So I do have a script that I am reading from. But if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. Just because there's so much information, I don't want to forget anything. So I will be reading from here. So since there are so many endless options, I want to provide you with the most common, most readily available, and just what you can find on the market. Obviously, there are a million and one websites you can find your engagement ring from. I was going between a lot of them, so I do compare like 6 of them. So personally, as far as my engagement ring, my story and everything like that, I didn't really get a proper proposal. We did, however, go over specific rings that I wanted. So I went through several rounds with my engagement ring. We tried to shop for the first one, which was my like permanent engagement ring that I was like fixating on. Initially I know I definitely wanted a pear-shaped, and I wanted a sapphire stone. I narrowed it down. I was website comparing, and I ended up going with K Jewelers, which I do not recommend. It just, as a personal experience, everything is very much commission based as far as like, are you here to spend money? Because if not, I really don't want to help you kind of scenario. Maybe I'm into my head. No, I'm not. Sometimes I doubt myself and I'm like, maybe I'm into my head too much, or maybe I'm overthinking this situation, because I am a chronic overthinker and I read too much into situations. But this time my suspicions were confirmed. With Zales, I ended up getting my first engagement ring, like my first official engagement ring, which was the sapphire stone, and the side stone on the halo fell out, so I went to get that cleaned, replaced, whatever. And I was wearing my temporary Amazon ring, so in the in-between time, because I didn't really like my sapphire engagement ring, so I was just wearing my fake ring at the time. And they're like, the sales associate was like, oh, let me clean it. I said, no, you don't have to worry about it. Like, it's nothing. It's just a temporary ring, whatever. And he's like, no, it's free. Let me clean it. When I tell you, this man pulled up a little microscope to look at my little fake ring. Girl, and I told this man, and I did not think he was going to pull up a whole microscope to look at my ring. Like, for what reason? Because it was a fake little Amazon ring, and it didn't need to be cleaned. I didn't care about it to be clean, but no, he wanted to be messy and see if it was real. He pulled up these little things. This is a side note. I got a diamond tester, but it came like a little microscope. And this is a 60 magnifying. So it has a regular light, and then it has, you can't see it, but it has like a little blue light. That came with my diamond tester, which we'll test it at the end, right? Anyways, so literally at that point in time, I was like, it's just my fake ring, like, because he was gonna clean it. I was just gonna let it go, like, it's whatever. Just imagine, this was the fake ring I was wearing when I came into the Zale store, and then I brought in my sapphire stone to get like the thing fixed, and then he's gonna sit here and offer me like a free cleaning for the ring that's currently on my hand. Why? This is not the ring I got from the store. What's the need for that? No, you want to be a messy bitch. This is where I just can't get into the elitism of it all, because it's just like, what was the need for that? Did I feel embarrassed? No, not really, because I told this man this was a fake ring. I'm just saying, what was the need for that? You tell me. Oh, you could probably say, oh, he was just being nice and offering a free cleaning. For what? This wasn't the ring I came in for. No, he wanted to see if it was a fake ring, because it says, like, it has like in most rings they have a CZ engraving in it, and that's probably what he was looking for, because to signify cubic zirconium, which is just like, it was just unnecessary to me. It was just a feeling, it was just a feeling, and I just didn't like that feeling, so I don't recommend them. And maybe it was just a store I went to, and I'm not expecting people to kiss my butt. You never know what somebody's budget is, whether they're willing to spend that $2,000 or the $100,000. It doesn't matter. I feel like you should treat everybody the same. I don't know, I feel like it's just a principle, and I get it, this is a business or whatever, and they're just trying to get their commission, but at the same time, you don't know where anyone's at. You could be treating somebody that's willing to spend $100,000 on a ring and expecting them only to spend, I don't know, $500 on a ring, and you would never know. I just don't like that feel, so I'd rather just go online. I was looking around, and I had like 10 different printouts of all the rings that I wanted, and I wasn't able to try any of the gemstones in stores, correction, it was Zales that we ended up going with my ring. Kay Jewelers, it was actually the opposite experience. The mall that I was in, Kay Jewelers and Zales were right next to each other, which is why I got them confused. However, Zales is the one I don't recommend, which is the one I ended up getting my engagement ring with. But Kay Jewelers, they also had options with gemstones in it in store that I could try on or look at, in opposite where Zales didn't. But anyways, I ended up going with Zales. So the official listing was the pear-shaped, lab-created blue and white sapphire frame bypass split shank bridal set in sterling silver. Big gist, it was a pear-shaped sapphire stone with matching sapphire stones around it, and it had a split shank. So I went online and I did the whole searching as far as what I wanted. I put in my specifications. I went through the 10 different specific listings that fit what I wanted, and then anyways I narrowed it down to that specific engagement ring. And online you're only able to go up to, I believe, 8.5. You can't really go anything higher, and I think I was at the time, I think I was like at 10 or 11, I don't know. So I had my ring semi picked out, went to the store to see if I could try some things on. They didn't really have a sapphire, a blue sapphire stone. Everything was white diamonds. So we go into the store and I was expecting to leave with an engagement ring, and I wasn't able to leave with an engagement ring, so I was really disappointed. One primary reason being is that all the rings in store, they only go up to an 8, so I would have to even order the ring, they would have to ship it out to get it resized, and then send it back and then pick it up. So needless to say, I was very disappointed I didn't walk out the store with the ring. That's why I went with my first ring, engagement ring, which was the amethyst ring I showed earlier on, and the metal was really flimsy and it ended up being malleable, so it was like morphing, and it was just, it looks really tarnished now, so I just keep it for memory's sake. I have no intention of wearing it, but I used it in the interim when I was waiting for my ring to come in after being resized. Anyways, ended up getting that ring, and ultimately I didn't like the ring. I didn't like the split shank because sometimes in the summer, sometimes the sun, my fingers get swollen, so even though it was my correct size, and had I gone a bit bigger, it would have been like too loose for me. But since my fingers do tend to swell from the sun, the split shank made it much more difficult to wear, so I was just uncomfortable wearing sometimes. And also I did fall into society pressures a little bit. I didn't get the reactions I was hoping for, at least, or this similar excitement. Obviously nobody's going to be as in love or excited about your own engagement ring than you yourself wearing it, but let's just say the comparison between when I was wearing my sapphire stone versus this stone, which I'll get into later, it is night and day. And I do love this, which is now my permanent engagement ring, bridal set and everything like that. I don't know, there was also a comment that was made in reaction to my ring. The comment was, oh, it's such a you ring. Kind of the equivalent when, you know, AAVE, where it's just like, if you like it, I love it. So there was definitely a bit of societal pressure as far as reactions and expectations of what someone's engagement ring should look like. That definitely got to me a little bit. There's a whole side tangent to be made about the diamond industry just as a whole. The value people place on diamonds was basically manufactured to sell more diamonds, because it's not necessarily a rarity. It's not the most rare gemstone you could find. I'm pretty sure Bailey Sarian did a whole dark side episode about the diamond industry, so if you want more on that, go to that video. Do further research if you'd like. This is not the video for the whole background information about diamonds. So a whole nother side tangent could be made about how much is your significant other partner is supposed to spend on the diamond, on the engagement ring and everything like that, or natural diamond versus lab grown diamond. We'll get into that later. There was a lot of back and forth with my engagement ring. So anyways, I don't know which came first, but I started contemplating getting a new ring, engagement ring, because I just wasn't fully satisfied with the sapphire engagement ring that I got. And so I started looking on Amazon for temporary rings in the interim when I was going to get my replacement ring. I did go on Amazon and just buy the cheap knockoff, whatever you want to call it, fake engagement rings or faux. Doesn't matter. It's basically cubic zirconium. We can definitely compare and contrast my $20 ring versus my $2,000 engagement ring. The sparkle different. Okay, anyways, I started going on Amazon to look at bridal sets or engagement rings to try on before I fully divulged a full investment on an actual engagement ring. So I went on the sets, and for the majority of the time I just wore my fake ring and before I got my real engagement ring. It did its job. Honestly, you couldn't tell the difference for the most part. If you're not like an expert jeweler, you're not going to sit here and clock it. Basically, you're not going to be able to tell the difference whether it was a real engagement ring versus a fake engagement ring, which is the fake one, which was just cubic zirconium, versus either lab grown diamond, real diamond, or whatever. So yeah, there was also a comment, the same person who made the comment about it's a U ring was the same person that made the comment about, oh, you would never know that it was not real. So yeah, I went on Amazon and I did the little comparisons, and I went through a couple different styles. I did go up to the equivalent of a 3-carat ring. I think it was a 2.5 carat equivalent. There have millimeters conversions, I'm not getting into that right now, but it was like a 2.5 carat equivalent, and it had a halo. And between both rings, so my first engagement ring, which was the pear halo, the stones in the halo fell off, and it's the same thing that happened to the halo stones in the Amazon ring. So I thought maybe because Amazon ring, it was cheap, it was just, you know, whatever cheaply made, okay, it's gonna fall off. When it happened to my first engagement ring, which was, I'll be honest, it was about, I don't know, $400 to $500, which was my first engagement ring, and it happened there when it was like an actual professional jeweler store. I'm just like, you know what, maybe just the pear shape in combination with the halo, it's just not a good combination, because in both instances, this is for, okay, Oprah, in both instances, in my first engagement ring and the $20 Amazon engagement ring, both stones fell out both of the settings, which is why I went with no halo on my final engagement ring. I did mention a couple details here and there about my engagement rings, so I'm going to go in depth about all the different options most common and readily available. So disclaimer, I'm just here to present you with all the options. I do not have any personal skin in the game or dog in this fight as far as, or preference, what anyone watching this video ends up deciding. I'm just here to provide you with the information. I am not the type to go down to the dollar amount or, you know, natural versus lab grown diamond. I also personally don't believe you should let anyone dictate your personal style on what you choose to wear on your ring. The major reason I did decide to upgrade my engagement ring was because primarily the split shank, and because the stones kept falling out. One time is one time too many, and the jeweler tried to say, oh, are you wearing lotions, or are you, no, I don't lotion my hands like that at all, if ever. So that's not a reason, and it shouldn't be a reason, but I get it, it loosens up the, you know, but that was a reason. And also our 2-year wedding anniversary was coming up, and I decided, you know what, let me just splurge, let me get the ring I want, and that's what I ended up doing. I'm also of the opinion, if you like it, I love it. Although sometimes some people might see it as a backhand compliment, or it is just a backhand compliment. They're not the ones that have to wear it. Like I said, if you like it, I love it. If you love it for yourself. Disclaimer, I'm not here to judge anyone's purchases, whether some may deem it not enough, or cheap, expensive, overpriced, whatever your little heart desires, you should get it within means. You know, I would just say what I would purchase, what my budget is, what I'm willing to pay for something is going to be completely different what someone else is willing to pay and what their budget is. So like I said, I'm just here to present you with all the endless options there are available. It will ultimately come down to your preference and your budget. One thing to know, each jeweler or store might have the exact same style, but they might just list it slightly different. I will go over them as we go through them. Since the mass majority of engagement rings are all gemstones, I will go over all of them, including the birthstones. And yes, diamonds are a gemstone. And online you might see or hear different birthstones variations for your birth month. So I'm going to go with IGS, which stands for the International Gemstone Society. So for January, your birthstone is garnet. For February, your birthstone is amethyst. For March, your birthstone is aquamarine. For April, your birthstone is diamond. For May, your birthstone is emerald. For June, your birthstone is alexandrite. For July, your birthstone is ruby. For August, your birthstone is period. I don't know how to say that. Period. Sorry. I'm sorry, I had to do it. That's not how you pronounce it. Peridot? Period. That's how it sounds to me. But you'll correct me in the comments. September is sapphire, which is why I wanted to get mine. For October, it's tourmaline. For November, it's topaz. And for December, it's blue topaz. A couple of these birth months have a couple different birthstones. But so, as far as hardness scale, what is it? How is it graded? What is it called? So what are the parameters to judge the hardness of a stone or what have you? So it is judged on the Mohs hardness scale. So this scale basically measures a mineral's ability to scratch another mineral to determine its toughness. 1 being the softest, which is an example of that is talc, and 10 being the hardest, which is a diamond, which is the hardest gemstone known to man. If you want to use your birthstone as your engagement ring, it's recommended to use a birthstone hardness of 7 or higher for its durability and long-term use. Garnet, peridot, tourmaline all measure above an average of 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Aquamarine, emerald, and topaz all measure above an average of 8 on the hardness scale. Alexandrite measures about an 8.5 on the hardness scale. Ruby and sapphire are the second hardest stone closest to diamond, with an average hardness of 9. And just for those who are curious, typically what the costume jewelry or the fake jewelry is typically made out of cubic zirconium, and that measures about an average of 8 on the hardness scale. Another gemstone I'd like to mention is moissanite. Some of you have heard it, some of you probably have not. It's basically has been the most popular alternative gemstone to diamonds. It can somewhat simulate a diamond, or people can mistake it for a diamond. The gemstone moissanite measures about a 9.25 on the hardness scale, which is slightly above ruby and sapphire. Moissanite is on the rise because it is seen as a more ethical, affordable alternative to diamonds. So a little tidbit on sapphires: they can come in any color of the rainbow. However, the colors that are primarily used are blue, white, and yellow. Now for the main event, we're going to talk about all about diamonds. So the first thing most jewelers tell you that you need to know, which is how they categorize it, are the 4 C's. So the first C is cut, the second one is color, third one clarity, and last one is carat. Not in that specific order, that's just the order I decided to go with. A lot of people tend to confuse cut and shapes as the same thing. However, it is not. Some might say emerald cut, Asher cut, round cut, when in actuality cuts have to do with the amount of facets on the diamond. We'll get into that later. Just to say, the cut and the shapes are 2 different things. As far as the different shapes that are available for diamonds, we have round, cushion, oval, marquise, emerald, radiant, princess, pear, rose asher, heart, rectangular, antique cushion, duchess, which is a elongated hexagon. I completely forgot to mention the Tua Imoa design, which has 2 coinciding stones next to each other. So like I previously mentioned, is the facet of a diamond. So a facet basically is the side of a diamond. The way that cuts are classified, it's basically how the light interacts with the different sides, aka facets of a diamond. So the cuts are categorized under poor, fair, good, very good, and excellent. Other factors that determine the grade of the cut of the stone are the proportions of the stone, which can be also affected by the polish and symmetry. I will pop up a chart to show you all the different sides of a diamond, and of course all the different sides of a diamond have a name. We won't go into depth about it, but I will show you the illustration of the breakdown of it. I will mention the names just in case you might happen to see it or hear it, because all of this does factor into the final price of the diamond. So the different sides includes the table girdle, the crown, the pavilion, cutlet, the table percentage, the depth percentage, the girdle thickness, and the crown angle. So basically, in layman terms, all of this factors into how much the diamond sparkles, which will then increase the price. So if you're real curious, primarily my resources from this was from Rare Carat and Brilliant Diamond. So I will link them down below if you want to go in depth. They do break it all down, and these are where I got my resources from. A diamond that has a classification of a poor cut is classified with having very prominent dark areas, little shine, and less sparkle. A fair cut diamond is defined as having poorly shaped facets that are not aligned well. They're dark and they're dull, which again contributes to having less shine, less sparkle. A good cut diamond has more darkness and can appear dull with darker areas. A very good cut diamond is not as bright with some slightly misaligned facets. An excellent cut diamond is very bright with an even pattern of contrasting dark and light areas, crisp and well aligned. Next C, we're going to talk about color. So this is on a scale from D all the way to Z. What happened from A to C, I have no idea. Don't ask me. I didn't mean that to rhyme. And that was off script. So just kidding. So D is basically a colorless stone all the way to Z, which is considered a light yellow. So between D and F, it's considered colorless. Between G and J, it's near colorless. And between K and M, it's a faint yellow. Between N and R, it's very light yellow. And between S to Z, it's light yellow. The color grading of a diamond between D and F is considered this ideal and standard. One thing to note, the GIA, these are the people that give you their certificate for your natural diamond, and they also grade lab diamonds. But basically they're doing a whole changing starting in October. They're putting a huge chunk of classifications of the lab diamonds under a SAM umbrella as far as the color scaling goes. So that's something you need to look out for if that matters to you. Okay, moving on to the third C, we have clarity. The clarity of the diamond is determined by any internal or external flaws. So when something has an internal flaw, it is called an inclusion, and when something has external flaws, it is called blemishes. So if they tend to have either of those or both of those, they are graded from flawless to included. When inclusions are only visible through magnification, it is considered eye clean. The higher the clarity equals higher the price due to its rarity. So inclusions are just basically abbreviated to I1 or I2, or slightly included, which is SI 1 or 2. So I1, I2, and I3 means included diamonds. So under this classification, it means it has inclusions that are visible with the naked eye without magnification, which ultimately does mean it is not as durable. So the classification SI1 and SI2 means slightly included diamonds. So these inclusions are noticeable with a 10 times magnification. Moving on to classification VS1 and VS2, it means very slightly included. VS1 has minor inclusions that are difficult to see with a 10 times magnification. VS2 has inclusions that are easier to see with a trained eye with a 10 times magnification. Moving on to VVS1 and VVS2, it is very, very slightly included. These classifications. I'm not the professional, but Jesus Christ. All VVSs, which again means very, very slightly included, are considered eye clean, meaning you can't see it with your naked eye. IF is equal to internally flawless, so it's completely free of any inclusions with minor surface blemishes that are difficult to see with a trained eye at a 10 times magnification. Every IV diamond is eye clean. Moving on to the last one, and not the gold standard, but like the top of the top that you could find. It is FL, which stands for flawless, and this is completely free of any inclusions and blemishes, which is the most expensive and incredibly rare. Okay, lastly, we are on to the last classification. It is carat. So the carat measures the actual weight of the diamond, not the actual size. 1 carat is equal to 200 milligrams. Other gemstones are typically measured in millimeters, and there is a conversion rate in chart that I will pop up here. So for example, an 8 milliliter round sapphire stone is equivalent to a 2 carat diamond. Another thing I'd like to mention for consideration in regards to your engagement rings are the metal bands. Firstly, we can go into the metal types. There is rose gold, white gold, yellow gold, and platinum, which is obviously the most expensive. Gold rings in jewelry are typically 14 karat or 18 karat. Obviously 18 karat gold are filled with more gold and have more of a durability and are mostly recommended, but obviously they are more expensive. If you're ever curious why 24 gold is not ever included in jewelry, is because it's too fragile and malleable and it won't hold up for everyday wear. So no jewelry out there is made with 24 karat gold. I'm pretty sure you can have a jeweler make it for you, but it's not the standard. Okay. 14 karat gold is 58.5% gold with 41.7% of other metals. 18 karat gold is 75% gold and 25% other metals. Although 18 karat gold is the best quality, 14 karat is the most common due to the quality and price. So on average, if you're looking on the websites, they do list the details, and more often than not, if you're going to like a box store for jewelries, Zales, Jared, K's, it's often 14 karat. Another thing to consider is side stones and matching bands. Side stones are basically accent stones. You can choose to have it wrap around your band, your engagement ring. You can have to have a solid. You can have to have a halo. You can have it on the prongs. We'll get into that. So again, this is all up to preference. I'm just here to present you with the endless options. I'm not here to pressure you and upsell you of, oh, you can add these stones and, you know, again, no skin in the game. I don't care either which way. However, if you do want it, the extra stones, they are available to you. Again, in addition, I want you guys to hear the verbiage that they might throw around, and before you even get to the jewelry store, to try things on, which I do recommend doing. I went the online route and I just went to Amazon and I tried those on. But if you want, book an appointment. You don't have to purchase anything. You could just say, you know, I'm just looking, I just want to see my options, and go on and try those options, you know, try those options in store. Because I promise you, what you have in mind might be completely different than what you ended up deciding on. You have to try them on. Since we're going into the side stones, I want to show you all the different options as far as the setting goes for the side stones. So the different setting options for the side stones include bezel, bar, Chanel, flush, French pave, regular pave, scalloped pave, shared prong, single shared prong, and the surface prong. Another way side stones are incorporated into engagement rings are including two smaller side stones next to the main stone. A bezel design encircles the stone in a thin border, metal border. A bar design has the stones placed between parallel vertical channels of metal. Previously, I said Chanel because I thought I was trying to be fancy. It might be channel. I could be wrong. So a channel setting places the stones between two parallel walls of metal. A flush setting places the stones in a preset that only displays only the top surface of the stone. A French pave setting places the stones between metal beads and split prongs featuring a small V-shaped cutout underneath each stone. A pave setting places the stones set closely together, secured with small beads. A scalloped pave places the stones tightly together into a U-shaped cutout band with split prongs from the top. A shared prong setting basically says it in the name that the stones share two prongs. The design allows more light to pass through, increasing brilliance and fire, aka sparkle and shine. When the gemstones are in a single shared prong, they are held together by a single shared prong, minimizing the amount of metal shown, which maximizes the visibility of the stones. So now that we talked about the settings, let's talk about the prongs themselves, which is like the claw, which is basically what is holding the diamond in place. So we have the settings, basically, of each individual, whether the diamond or other gemstones within the band, and then we have the prongs, which is the things holding the diamond. This gets really hyper specific. Like once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? So the different prong types include bead, bezel, semi-bezel, claw, compass, multi-prong, paddle, and 6-prong. Sometimes I see 3 prongs, sometimes I see 4 prongs, and sometimes I've seen 6 prongs. On mine, I have 5 prongs. The majority of the engagement rings I've seen have 4 prongs on the stones. So you have your band, you can decide what side stones you want, don't want. You choose the setting of the band. Now you have your prongs, how many prongs you want. Now we have the actual setting of the center stone, right? So it's holding the diamond. So the different options include basket, cathedral, integrated, peg, tulip, or the trellis setting. I could be saying that wrong. Trellis. The basket design places the center stone in a low basket shaped setting to optimize the amount of light. You can also decide to have the setting of, like for the basket, for instance, to have side stones as well within the basket that's holding the actual diamond. So the cathedral setting holds up the center stone by archways, aka shoulders, that taper towards the center. The integrated set design is casted as one continuous piece of metal with a lower set with a more flush appearance with the band. The peg set heads are soldered separately onto the shank, holding the diamond higher than the integrated heads. Moving on to the tulip prongs, which are shaped to resemble the petals of a tulip. And I love that one. It's just, I don't know, it's not that it's dainty, but it's just beautiful. The trellis set has an interwoven head and secures the gemstone into a low basket. Visually, and just, I'm not a professional at all, but the peg design, it just looks like the diamond is being held together by hair and it's not being supported at the bottom. I personally like when the diamond at the bottom, all the prongs come together at the bottom and just give it a little bit more of a secure base. I feel like the peg design, the diamond's just kind of flowing, but that's just my unprofessional personal opinion. So like I said before, previously with the basket design, you can add additional side stones or accent stones along the sides of the prongs in any which way. So when additional stones around the center stone is called the halo design. When it's underneath the center stone, it's called a hidden halo. Also, in addition, the accent stones can be around the prongs themselves, kind of like a collar. Most engagement rings do come as a bridal set if you do choose that route. Just personally, I like to have all my stones matching, but again, personal preference. You could have a completely different set of stones from your engagement ring down to your wedding band. It's completely up to you, but the options are there. The only thing I will say about wedding bands or matching bands or bands in general with the stones, there is something called the eternity band, which basically means there are stones wrapping around the entire ring itself, which means you can never upsize that ring. There's nowhere to upsize it. You'd have to cut it open and then add extra metal to it and then solder it back, which you can't do that with an eternity band. It'll just be destroyed. There's nowhere to do that. Say if you do get pregnant, your fingers swell, yada yada yada, XYZ. People's ring sizes change all the time. So, you know, that is something to keep in mind. But if you're just adamant and you want the eternity band, that's up to you. Same thing on the opposite end of the spectrum. You gain weight, lose weight, either way, your ring sizes does change. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty details, and before I go on to the price, because all of this factors in to the final price tag, I want to mention the little details that could be also incorporated into your ring if you do decide. So there's different types as far as the actual band itself. So you have comfort fit, double band, flat, knife edge, and rounded. And lastly are the finishing details on the actual band itself. That is also an option if you don't choose to have side stones and if you just want a plain band. The last finishing details on the band also include an engraving to have it engraved, something that is called filigree, which are small threads of metal that create a vintage and artistic design. You have the hammered option, which is soft indentations formed into the metal to add visual texture and can hide wear and tear over time. The other finishing details on the band include high polish, matte, brushed, satin, and milligrane, which are delicate beaded details, which are most popularly seen in vintage and antique jewelry. In order to show you the vast range of options you have for diamonds, whether it's lab grown or natural, I compiled 5 of the most common and well-known jewelry stores, whether online or in store. So I use Brilliant Earth, Jared, Kay, Rare Carat, and Zales. So to try to keep this fair and neutral across all boards, I kept the same preset settings for what I was looking for in this imaginary scenario. All the jewelers offer both preset and custom options. However, Brilliant Earth and Rare Carat primarily focus on creating custom rings. On some websites, I was able to finagle to get into their system to search and find through their inventory. That's only what I could assume, because a couple of them, when I went to like try to cash out the selected ring I customized, it said not here, not available, error, whatever it said. I couldn't cash it, I couldn't check out. So when I get to them, I'll mention them. Side note, I did want to mention, I confirmed my suspicions that Carat and Zales are all owned by the same company, because they had all of the same preset search engine, and I was like, this is suspicious. And then I look at the parent company and I'm like, boom, they're all owned by Signet Jewelers, which they also own Pagdona, I don't know, Diamonds Direct, and James Allen. So if you're familiar with those, they're all owned by the same jeweler parent company. So if you're looking on the websites like K Jewelers and Jared and Zales, you might have a better option just picking from their preset ones. If you're specifically just trying to do this online, I'm pretty sure if you go in stores, you're going to be able to customize it to your liking. That's just my assumption, but I'm pretty sure you can do that there. But if you're just solely going off, like, I don't even want to see somebody in person as far as like buying it, I don't want to feel that pressure, I just want to try on some rings, go online and do it myself, these are the options I'm showing you. If you're going with that route, you might just have to make some adjustments or compromises on what your dream ring might be looking like, or again, you can choose to go in store. So the default settings I was looking for as far as the engagement ring goes across all websites, just to make it fair, I just went with the most common ones, was a 2 carat round diamond with a yellow gold band, a D through F color, 18 karat to 14 karat gold, that's fine, 1.8 to 2 milliliter band. Anything less than that is typically not recommended, because basically you need a thick band to support your stone. So a good to excellent cut, IF, which again means internally flawless, to VS1 and VS2 are typically considered standard. Anything above obviously is better, but on average. So again, VS1 means very slightly included. So I did list, as you can see, because I'll post the screen recording as I went through the listing and the default settings and narrowing it down or what have you. I went to the most expensive ring to the least expensive ring I could find within those parameters. I won't go over every single number. I will pop up the chart. I would just say the averages from this chart, because I don't think you want to hear all these numbers and just me spatting at you this information. So you can pause to read. However, when I did go through each individual websites, I did get a matching band. I went for the cheapest band possible that matched, and that's what the values printed out towards the end when I went to check out. So Zales and K Jewelers were both the companies that only you were able to see the preset options. As far as you're not able to customize, you were able to see the inventory or a back page or whatever that was, but you weren't able to actually check out with those rings, customizable rings. So I did with those two websites, I did go through the preset values as well. So I do want to say, obviously prices change all the time, and when I did screen record, I screen recorded this around August 21st to the 22nd of this year. So for K Jewelers, I just went into the search engine, and just for quick, if you guys were curious, I went to designer ring. That was like through the pages I was able to get to. I knew that that's how I get to it. Across all 5 websites, the cheapest natural diamond ring that I was able to find was $16,690, and that has very good cut, F color, VS2, very slightly inclusions, and 2 carat, and that was from Brilliant Earth. And the most expensive natural diamond I was able to find across all 5 websites was, believe it or not, on Rare Carat. That was $105,000. So the cut was excellent, the color was E, VS1, and again, carat was 2. So for the lab grown diamond, the cheapest diamond ring across all 5 platforms was from Rare Carat, and that was $1,966. It had an ideal cut, an F color, a VS2 clarity, and a 2 carat. And this is just for the diamond itself. This doesn't include anything else. Doesn't include the band, doesn't include the setting, doesn't include nothing. It's just the diamond itself. So for the most expensive lab grown diamond was from Brilliant Earth, from $9,260. It had an ideal cut, it had a D color, it was IF, internally flawless, and it had a 2 carat. I mentioned all these values, all the numbers and everything like that, just to say it can range from under $2,000 to over $105,000, and no one will ever know the difference. And again, natural versus lab grown. Let's get into it while we're here. A diamond is a diamond is a diamond, whether it's natural or lab grown. It's still a diamond. Now, if you want to just get a cheap $20 Amazon ring that's cubic zirconium versus, you know, a diamond, lab grown, natural, whatever, doesn't matter. No one will know. You will know, which is why I decided to go with real diamonds and moissanite and everything like that with the moissanite alternative. I'll get into that later on when I talked about my ring. But when I opened my ring and I saw the sparkle and shine and compared the two, oh my God, I could tell the difference immediately. Before I move on to Moissanite Company, I do want to mention the difference between a lab grown diamond and a natural grown diamond. So basically a lab grown diamond, it's within its name. It takes, I think it's like a block of just pure carbon fibers, and it slices very thinly, and it goes through this whole process. I will pop up videos because I'm not an expert, but I will show you an expert video on how they create it. But just from my memory, they have a block of carbon and take little thin slices of it, and then they basically put it through a machine, and boom, you get this little thing, a diamond ring, and then they go in and laser it down or whatever. So that's the process of a lab grown diamond. A natural grown diamonds basically through millions of years of natural just compaction and just whatever creates the stone of a diamond. And then again, same thing, they pick it up and they just polish it down together. It's up to preference. Again, I won't say too much on the topic, but I definitely believe, it's my personal opinion, you have to get in the comments if you want to, or the jewelers can get in the comments if they want to. I'm very of the opinion that the lab grown diamonds are much more ethical than the natural source diamonds, and they could try to, you know, put a pink bow on it all they want and say it's ethically sourced in certain places, this, that, and the third, and you know, it's hard to believe. I'm not saying that if you get a natural grown diamond, you're awful, you're supporting blood diamonds, yada, yada, yada. I'm not saying all that. It depends on where you get it from. If people are willing to pay for it, then they will. And that's the price that they will determine. I can't imagine myself putting down $100,000 for a natural diamond in any capacity. That's like the quarter of a price of a home. I just can't see myself doing that or rationalizing it. I do like nice things, and I'm not demonizing anybody who wants to splurge. That's on you. But again, the whole natural versus lab grown diamond debate, I think it's frivolous. I really think not one is not better than the other. Like, to tell the difference between a lab grown and a natural, going up to a jeweler, unless they have a specific test to determine that, you won't really know. They would have to send it off to like the IGS, International Gemstone Society, or the GIA to get it verified. People put this on a one-to-one comparison. Basically, how much your partner is willing to spend on an engagement ring is how much they value you as a person. And we're not back in the olden days where you trade your family, your father trades you to another family. Like, we're not there. Okay, you're not seen as property anymore. And I know that's not how a lot of people see it as, but that's where it comes from as far as the history goes. And I just think it's silly to place your value of your relationship on how much your partner decides to spend on an engagement ring. Yes, it shows effort and care, and it's a show of commitment, but I don't think it should be worth a down payment on a house. And that's just personal preference. Like, traditionally they're just like, oh well, it should be like 4 months salary or whatever, this and the third. I'm just like, listen, I'm being honest. It was the decision between paying our rent or getting it like a nice fancy engagement ring right then and there. And it's just, that's not where our priorities lied at that time. So which is why I did, another reason why I chose to upgrade my engagement ring to what I love now. And still, like I said, this was like $2,000 on average. I can't remember the exact price, but it was around there. And again, I looked it up. I'm just like, how much is somebody supposed to spend on an engagement ring? I have no idea, but I guess apparently that's the average. I know in certain cultures, it's an absolute certain that the partner has to get a natural grown diamond, and it's because of their resale value, and because obviously lab grown diamonds do not have any resale value. My little tidbit on that is that if you're going in, I get it's an asset or whatever. Some women see it as an asset in case there is a divorce later down the line, which, let's be realistic, 50% of marriages do end in divorce. You don't want to hear about this in an engagement ring video, but let's be honest. And that's another factor as to why people value natural grown diamonds over lab grown. But if you're going into that like, hey, I'm gonna get something out of this, I just, if that's the main reason that you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking of the resale value of a natural grown diamond for an engagement ring, maybe you shouldn't get married, sis. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's just, it's a weird thing to think about. Did I go into my marriage planning for a divorce? No. But did I get a prenup? Hell yes. But I was thinking of more protecting my own assets, not coming out the marriage or divorce with an asset. But again, is it some things you have to think about. Alrighty, so lastly, I want to mention Moissanite Company because that's the company I went with. Moissanite Company, it does let you customize it a lot. It also does lab grown diamonds. Moissanite is another gemstone alternative that has been going on the rise due to the affordability, the ethicalness, and I also wanted a moissanite ring because they sparkle differently. I did the same parameters with the Moissanite Company that I did with the other 5 companies. 2 carat round diamond with yellow gold band, D through F color rating, IF through VS1 and 2 clarity. With Moissanite Company, you can specify 14 karat or 18 karat. Obviously 18 karat gold is more expensive. The good to excellent cut, 1.28 to 2 millimeter band. Now with this, Moissanite is specifically preset. You cannot customize your ring, so you have to pick from, you can narrow down all your parameters through the search engine, and then that's what I, whatever it spit out to me, that's what I went through, what I liked the most, and I picked through that. So what I was able to find on Moissanite Company was a 2 carat round lab grown diamond with a D to E color with VS1 clarity, ideal cut, and it's certified through the IGI, 14 karat gold, 1.5 milliliter band, which was a little bit disappointing because I do recommend the 1.8, but this is what they got. And that was about $1,680. Since I tried on the Amazon ring, I knew exactly what I wanted, so that's where I took it to Moissanite Company. I was price comparing. I was going between a couple different websites. Rare Carat was one of them, and I ended up going with Moissanite Company for the customization ability. I did want Moissanite for the stone because just all in all, it shines brighter than a diamond. So I'm not trying to get a diamond knockoff. I actually wanted a Moissanite stone because it reflects more, which means it shines brighter. So I ended up going with the pear-shaped engagement ring. The center stone is Moissanite and the surrounding stones are all lab grown diamonds. It has 5 prongs and it also has like a diamond collar around it. So basically I went through the Moissanite Company. I narrowed it down to, like, I believe the top 2 to 3 options. There was a basket option, but I didn't like the matching band because it had too much of a divot. This one also does have a little bit of a divot, but not as much and not as noticeable, but it has to have a divot in order to make room for the pear-shaped. So the pear-shaped, you can wear it either way. You can have it with the point up or you can have it with the point down, which is another reason why I liked the shape itself, because you can wear it in multiple ways. And because of the shape, it does look like a larger ring even though it isn't. Oh, another thing I want to mention with Moissanites, they do pass the diamond tester even though they aren't a diamond. So one thing I mentioned with, if you do decide to go with Moissanite, they do have different sales all the time. Labor Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. So anyways, I was able to get my ring on discount. I went with the diamond collar. This is the actual official. The diamond collar pair Moissanite engagement ring. It was a colorless, the 2 carat, which is equivalent to 10 by 7 millimeters. That individually was priced at $1,617. I got the 18 karat white gold, which added an extra $160 because it was considered special order compared to the 14 karat gold. I got the matching band with, again, 18 karat and the lab grown diamonds, which was an added $690. And then the side stones, again, diamonds. It was VS D/E coloring, and it added an extra $50 because I wanted lab grown diamonds instead of Moissanite, which is the default. I got a size 10.5 in my ring. The total cost was $2,515. Because of the discount, it took off $503. It was thanks mom, it was during Mother's Day. And the total price was $2,112. Sorry, that's my dog drinking. My battery's dying. I'm just gonna have to go through it. You could choose to add to get it insured. I think mine was $500 to get it insured for a lifetime. I think that's everything that I wanted to go over. I've been filming for probably like 2 to 3 hours. Let's see how long this is gonna be cut down to. If you watch this video all the way to the end, comment down a ring emoji, obviously, because that's what the entire video was about. Like, comment, subscribe, because YouTube makes you say this. And yeah, bye.